car chase has been a key ingredient of James Bond films since 007, in the back of a Chevy Bel Air convertible, was briefly pursued at speed by CIA man Felix Leiter in his Impala in the 1962 film Dr. No.
Take the next turning on the right.
Since that first, rather tame chase, subsequent productions have developed the vehicle action to provide some of the most exciting and memorable scenes of the Bond movies.
You'll be using this Aston Martin DB5 with modifications.
From the third film, Goldfinger, onwards, Aston Martin has been the marque most associated with 007, and their cars have featured in some of the best Bond chase scenes.
Now, pay attention, please.
Here are my top 5 James Bond Aston Martin car chases, counted down from number 5 to number 1. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my choices, and tell me which ones are your favourites.
Aston Martin call it the Vanquish, we call it the Vanish.
My choice for 5th place features this car, the Vanquish, in Die Another Day from 2002.
Oh, very good.
This film marked the return of Aston Martin, at the time under Ford ownership, after the 2 previous Pierce Brosnan films had Bond behind the wheel of various BMW models. This car chase may have made it higher up my list had it not been for the adaptive camouflage cloaking device, jarringly unrealistic even by Bond standards.
Be able to shoot through that in a couple of hours.
Late on in the film, Bond needs to rescue Halle Berry. Well, who wouldn't? But he gets into a car chase with Korean baddie Zhao, who inexplicably drives an open-top Jaguar XKR in the Arctic Circle, without even wearing a hat. Much of the filming took place on a frozen lake in Iceland, known as the Glacier Lagoon. To make sure that it froze solid enough for cars to drive over it safely, the production crew built a dam across the lake's inlet to stop the salt water entering and thawing the ice. Apparently, the cars never went above 20 miles per hour, but the chase was filmed with the cameras slowed down to give the right effect when played back at normal speed. So why has this made my list? Well, there's beautiful scenery and cinematography, a frozen lake to an inside an ice palace, there's a worthy adversary in the well-armed green XKR, there's over-the-top use of gadgets, especially weapons, rockets, miniguns, and of course, the adaptive camouflage. The only thing missing was a cheesy one-liner from Bond when Zhao gets dispatched by a pointy ice chandelier. In 4th place is the 1987 film The Living Daylights. Bond, played for the first time by Timothy Dalton, ends up on another frozen lake in a gorgeous Aston Martin V8. He's on the run from Soviet Czechoslovakia, accompanied by Mariam Dabo and a cello, and there are just enough gadgets and weapons used to keep things interesting, and some comedic moments and good old cheesy one-liners to lighten Dalton's rather serious demeanour. So why has this made my list? Well, primarily because of the Aston Martin V8, probably my favourite Aston of all time. Also, there are a few kind of updates on gadgets from previous films, like a laser coming from the wheel hub instead of a tyre shredder. And because this time there are plenty of one-liners, albeit rather deadpan.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
We're off to Italy for my 3rd place car chase, and the last appearance of the iconic Aston Martin DB5 in No Time to Die from 2021. Fearing that Madeleine Swan, played by Lea Seydoux, has betrayed him to Blofeld, Daniel Craig's Bond is pursued by Spectre agents through the winding streets of Matera to a showdown in the Piazza San Giovanni. Although there were a couple of real DB5s used in the filming, all the stunt work was done using replicas based on BMW M3s. In the Piazza shootout, the car's front wheel was locked down to a small turntable full of sensors that triggered all the bullet hits in the surrounding buildings in time with the car's rotation. I like this chase, largely because of the stunning location and also the use of the classic DB5 with its gadgets lifted almost directly from Goldfinger, but suitably modernised for the times. The car chase for my runner-up slot starts here at Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire England. Having gate-crashed a meeting of Spectre in the film of the same name from 2015 and been recognised, Daniel Craig as Bond jumps down from a colonnade into a courtyard full of supercars and into his Aston Martin DB10. Firing up the Aston, Bond reverses out, flicks a J-turn and skids away through an archway, closely followed by Spectre assassin Mr. Hinks in a Jaguar CX-75. Passing through the second arch, they emerge seamlessly onto the streets of Rome, over 1,000 miles away from here. DB10 was a special model, built just for the movie, and there are only 10 made, but visually it was based on the prototype design for the new Vantage that would enter production a few years later. What I like about this chase is that most of it was shot for real in central Rome, with incredible editing and full-on stunt driving given equal billing to the gadgets. Driving aside, I also like that the director plays on the audience's assumption that the car's gadgets will save the day, although the first two attempts fail miserably.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. No.
Before I reveal my number one car chase, here's a few that didn't make my top 5. The first of these is Goldfinger from 1964. Now, despite this film being the seminal Bond and Aston Martin affiliation, and there actually being 2 chases involving the DB5, for me, neither of them is particularly spectacular. The technology of the time was rather primitive and mostly involved rear projection and sped up film. The second is from GoldenEye in 1995. The idea that an Aston Martin DB5 could keep up with the Ferrari F355 on the Corniche roads above Monte Carlo is rather absurd, and Brosnan's misogyny is dialed up a little too high even for the 90s. That said, the peloton of cyclists coming to grief almost made me include it. Also worth acknowledging is this scene from the 2006 Bond reboot, Casino Royale. The chase itself is more of a promo video for the then new Aston Martin DBS, but it's the stunt at the end that earns it a mention. Stunt driver Adam Curley, with the help of a pipe ramp and an air cannon, managed to roll the car over and over 7 times, earning himself a place in the Guinness Book of Records in the process. A record that has only just been beaten recently in the film The Fall Guy. So here it is, my number 1. It's Daniel Craig again as Bond, and in Italy again, this time around Lake Garda in the north for 2008's Quantum of Solace, and the brutish power of an Aston Martin DBS. Coming right at the outset of the movie, and following on directly in timeline from the closing scenes of Casino Royale, the glimpses of the car speeding through the tunnel before the action starts whet your appetite for what's about to come. Ben Collins, the tame racing driver who developed the Stig as a non-verbal character in Top Gear, doubled for Craig and spent several weeks all but destroying 12 brand new Aston Martin DBSs for that 3-minute sequence. Although it's one of the shortest 007 chase sequences, what makes it number 1 for me is that it's all about the power and capability of the car. Aside from a bulletproof rear screen, it's totally unreliant on anything that Q Branch might have added. Its success is wholly down to the fast-cut editing, the Aston Martin DBS, and the spectacular precision driving by Collins and the team. Well, there it is, my top 5 James Bond Aston Martin car chases. To see the scenes featured in full, check out the links in the description below. If you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video so that YouTube shows it to more people, and please subscribe to my channel to watch all manner of car related videos. Finally, don't forget to comment with your favourites or let me know what you think of my choices. James Bond will return. See you next time. Bye bye.